Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Talking About the Big Stuff podcast with Michael Cole and Matthew Cravat. I am Michael Cole.
And I am Matthew Cravat.
So I want to say a couple things before we get started on the episode. This can be in the episode, but, it's been 3 weeks since I've really talked to you, Matthew.
It'll be 1 week since you say you're sorry.
And last week before the episode, it was only Alex and I because, there was complications with Thanksgiving and everything else. And I was like really bummed that I hadn't seen either of you in 2 weeks. And then seeing Alex was great and talking, it was great. But now with all three of us back together, like even after I drove you to get Madhavi's car today, Matthew, when I got home, Sarah's like, "You're in like a really good mood." And I'm like, I haven't really talked to Matthew in weeks.
Need the endorphin rush of a Matthew visit.
Yeah, well, just like anybody that's not Sarah and Logan, essentially.
That makes me feel really good. Thank you.
Yeah, well, you know what I mean. Like,
Alex, you talked to Alex during that time. He didn't help you. He's not an endorphin rush.
He did, just not as much.
Shut up.
Anyway, so tonight's episode is it's moral culpability, but it's very specifically because of the universal healthcare issue.
United
healthcare issue.
And the issue is that, for those who don't know, watching this in the future, don't know, is that they recently had a vacancy for a new CEO.
What a way to put it. So here's the thing. It's been less than 6 weeks since we did our death penalty episode. We're all on the same page. We're not pro death penalty.
No, and that's exactly how I've been thinking about this. When people are excited, I'm like, whether he deserved shit in his life or not, I'm still anti-death penalty. Like, it doesn't help that it was executed by a citizen instead of the government. It's still a death penalty, and I'm not a fan of that.
I'm not as upset about it as I could have been.
I would have liked much more if he had been injured and then taken to a regular hospital and then been, when he gets his bill, have things that aren't covered because they brought in a different anesthesiologist. Like, wouldn't care money-wise. But I'd like him to end up with a bill that's bigger than his bill. So like, this is not going to be a Schadenfreude episode where we're all like, yeah, the guy. We can have our opinions on, like, ultimately, personally, I'm not as sad as I would be if other people died. But I also am anti-death penalty, so this does fall into that for me. What I wanted to talk about was how this has kind of created this divide between the people who are very excited about it and the people who are defending him, which, there's going to be some people that are, he's just doing his job and stockholder, we will see that. We haven't seen it that much yet, but it'll come. And it's also kind of a big deal because we haven't seen it on this level, but we have a tendency in this country to, unless you actually pull the trigger, to not consider people responsible for death unless you're either the gunman or there's other ways of killing people, obviously. Unless you're the person who ordered the hit specifically, like, we don't look at what he did with his company as murder. But arguably, we probably should.
But we probably should as a society. I don't know about legally. I think the legal fix on this is a different kind of legal fix. But I think that as far as, like, we do it with all kinds of things where we're like, well, we talked about it when we were talking about after the election, when we were talking about, people are going to die because of policies, and I hope you like your egg prices. Like, there's all these different ways in which we just refuse to, like, it's essentially, it's like I said, it's not murder, and it's not like, hey, it's not Michael Corleone being like, go take care of this. But it's only like that next step beyond that on some occasions where we are like, no, they're just doing their job. Stockholder
profits are up.
Profits are up. Yeah. And so that's what I wanted to talk about tonight. And you know, like I said, I don't want this to be there's plenty, and I've been enjoying them and I've been sharing them with you guys. Plenty of memes going on right now. I don't think we need to pile on to the like it's good to see they got what they deserved kind of thing. It's more an opportunity for us to examine his hit not only his but all, you know, the moral culpability of somebody who has the ability to not do something terrible and does it anyway, and how we kind of think like that's not we society tends to treat those people as if that's acceptable because stock prices went up, profitability goes up, you know.
Yeah,
So
I think there would have been a lot more poetic justice if the CEO guy, and I don't know his name or care to know his name because he's just another murder victim out of the 20,000 that happen a year. I don't really know why he's getting more positive media attention than the other 20,000 victims. She doesn't deserve more name recognition than they get. But if he had been hit by a truck, a
mhm.
Brinks truck full of money would be the most ironic. And he's laying there dying, and then the guy, Luigi, who has been taken into custody, if he pulled a gun and kept anyone from helping the guy while he bled to death in the street, that would be a poetic justice irony that he prevented him from getting care, because United Health
Yeah,
CEO guy wasn't getting people sick. He wasn't going out and
right.
killing people. He just stood in the way of them getting the care that they needed to not die. So I think
Right.
there would have been more poetic justice if the guy just followed him around for 20 years until that opportunity happened. So like if I were writing it, I would have written it better. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
But again, I don't think that, killing people is an acceptable option.
I agree. I don't think so. I think it's, you know, I watched Arrow. I like vigilante justice in fiction.
I hated Arrow for that.
Okay.
I mean, the first couple of episodes, first half season, whatever, yeah, he killed everybody. But then like halfway through the season or a second season, whatever, he started getting a conscience about it, and he would kill 20 security guards to get to the main guy and then warn him or threaten him and leave him alive. And I'm like, do the people making the show, like, does the lives of everyone he killed to get to the guy were all meaningless lives? He's not a bad guy anymore because he only kills the security guards, not
But
the
he was
millionaire.
so hot when he would do the salmon ladder.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so you know, I am not in favor. I also think something that's interesting that has been brought up about this and the moral culpability side of things is, you know, this guy had a wife and presumably a family, and people are like, what are they going to think when they see the memes? And here's the deal.
They were living off that
I
money. The memes, I don't think he should be killed, but I don't care about the memes either.
that's how I agree. Like if you're married to somebody, and I think good people can be married to very bad people. So like I'm not trying to be a
Sarah's married to you.
Exactly. Great person. No.
I didn't say that, Sarah. Don't blame me.
She doesn't listen.
We have that in common.
Yeah. But like when it comes to, you know, good people can be married to bad people. I don't think we can shield people. I want to not live in a world where we like have to, you know, like I don't want kids to be like your father's a piece of shit. I don't want little kids hearing that. But ultimately, like when you put it into the world we live in, like, you know, whether
But I
it's you
mean,
want to go extreme with Hitler
then
or
don't be a piece of shit if you don't want your kid to hear that you're a piece of shit. I mean,
I
there is
agree.
it's like defamation to me. If it's true, it's not defamation.
Yeah, I agree. And
Like
I
that
think
kid's
that's
got a limo and a yacht because daddy lets people die.
yeah, yeah,
He can deal with a meme. And
yeah,
unfortunately, I hope he doesn't need therapy because it's probably out of network.
yeah, yeah.
But it probably isn't. He's rich, so he's got a plan that covers everything everywhere.
Probably. That's probably true. So anyway, I don't think we have to stick to that specific example, but I just thought that the thing that it was making us talk about making us think about as a society was interesting. And I thought it was an interesting way of looking at it, as opposed to like evil CEO gets his. I thought we could look at like, why do we find it okay to be the CEO in the first place? Like, to be that particular CEO, or there's plenty of examples of people who are just as bad when it comes to how they disregard life. We've all seen things like was it Fight Club, where he's like a risk assessor for like recalls or something, and it's
his main job is looking at, it works for insurance companies and on especially things like recalls for cars, and he looks into what's the problem with the car, how often is it likely to occur, how culpable would they end up being in lawsuits, and then what becomes is it more expensive to do a recall or to pay out all the lawsuits? If paying out the lawsuits would be cheaper than a recall, they don't do a recall.
Which is a real thing that really happens and is crazy to me.
Whether there's a person who's that job specifically like that or not, I don't know. But that is the calculus that's done. What is the cost to the company?
Yeah, and the idea...
And I think legally it kind of has to be, because for some reason we have a law saying that the company, short of breaking the law, has to do anything they can to be profitable to the shareholders. So they're incented to do that.
That is what I was going to say when I said
I said it faster because I'm from New York and you're from Boston.
When I said that there's other legal recourse too, is that we need to fix that very specific thing of it is part of the problem that you are required to do every legal thing to make as much profit as absolutely possible. It is corrupting our system in a way, and like you said, like doing the calculus on that is a terrible thing. Like, and I understand that deaths happen, and that sometimes they are unavoidable, and sometimes, but like when you start doing the math of like, how many people are going to die? Is it that bad? Like, yeah, like if you can prevent any of them, then yeah, it's that bad. Like,
and it's the thing, they probably don't use those words. They don't say that because you can't sit and have that conversation and think you're the good guy. So they find a way to, represent it in what will be the cost of the company due to legal action. And they don't mention what the legal action is about.
Right. And that to me is crazy. And the fact that how many people accept it. And I'm not talking about CEOs. There are plenty of, it's just like every other thing when it comes to the wealthy, is there are plenty of people that are at our income levels that are completely fine with, well, that's just the way of the world, like that just kind of write it off and accept it.
I think it is related to Singer's famine, affluence, and wealth in philosophical terms. So it's that kind of it's the thing where when you're distant from the problem, it doesn't seem as real to you. So like if you're walking through the park and there's a kid drowning in the pond, your wallet, your phone, everything's out of your pockets, and you are in that water in 2 seconds flat because you're watching a kid drown. You would go risk your life to save that kid. But knowing that kids getting insurance denied and dying somewhere else, not in your sight, does not give you the same moral obligation to fix the problem. Like while you would jump in the water to save a kid drowning, you wouldn't jump in the water to save a kid who was getting turned away at the ER because he drowned because his insurance didn't cover it. Like we don't feel the same. We have an intellectual moral outrage about that, but people still voted for Trump, who wants to get rid of Obamacare. People are able to distance themselves from the life and death situation when they don't see it in front of them.
True. It's like Eli Bosnick says, I can't teach you how to be empathetic.
Yeah.
But
the thing is, but I think it's less than his empathetic, because I think that the person who sees someone drowning would want to help. Like if somebody, they would help. They just won't help when it's someone that when you're told, hey, someone's drowning, will you donate $1,000 to stop them from drowning?
Yeah.
Now I'll risk my life to jump in the water to save someone I can see drowning, but I'm not going to donate $1,000 for the anti-drowning campaign because I don't see it. It's not visceral.
Right.
It's not real.
And I will say that I know a lot of people who fall into exactly what you just said. It was during when Sarah's mom died a few years ago. I said to Sarah and her sister and father, I was like, it's weird because all the people, you checked our mail and you did some nice things for us, but I was like, almost every single person who did something nice for us is a conservative who, if we were strangers and they had to vote to help us out, they would not have done it. But because they know us and they are compassionate when it's in front of them, they were all very and I mean that genuinely. Like, I wasn't trying to be a dick about it. I was like, we have to remember this. And then I just don't understand the disconnect, because I kind of get like, I care more about Logan than other kids, but I don't care. Like, if you told me one of your kids had an issue and then you were like, you know, it wouldn't move the needle more for me than if you told me like some kid in sub-Saharan Africa had this same issue. I would be like, we need to do something about it, and
I thought you were going the other way. I thought you were saying, like, what happens to Logan really impacts me and I really care. If you tell me your kid has a problem, I mean, it's the same shit as if some kid I don't know has a problem. I don't care.
Oh, no,
I thought you were going, like, your kids, strangers, same thing to me. As opposed to, I don't care if it's my best friend's kid or a stranger. They both are meaningful to me. I saw you going the other way.
Oh yeah. No, and believe me, there's times where, especially when I'm explaining to people why I don't go to Chick-fil-A or Walmart or all these other things that I do or don't do, and people are just like they look like exhausted for me when I tell them that, and I'm like, how do you not think about these things? Like, how do you just go, oh yeah, it's a chicken sandwich that I want, I don't give a fuck about the consequences? Like, I can't get it. I cannot understand it. And there are moments where it's exhausting to be like, to give a shit about so much is like really, really exhausting and can be like not great for my mental health. But at the same time, like, I don't know, like, how do you do the opposite? I just can't
Well,
get
the first thing I do is you just don't be aware. I mean, like, you can look up, you can go on opensecrets.org and see what every company donates and see, judge who do I buy, or you can just buy what's on the grocery store shelf and not care.
Well, that's kind of how I deal with whataboutism with that, which is like, sometimes like I'll say to someone like, oh yeah, I don't go to Chick-fil-A because of, and they're like, well, do you know that every company does? And I'm like, I'm aware that there's something bad going on in every place. Yeah. I can only deal with what I know.
Yeah.
And I don't.
But also, there's a difference between they donate a lot of money to the right versus they sponsor programs in Africa to get anti-gay laws passed. It's a different level of evil.
Death penalty, anti-gay laws.
Yeah. There's a different level of evil going on.
Mm-hmm. Right. And I realized that, like,
and somehow the targeting makes it worse. Like it's every company donates to Republicans who do all these things across the board. They specifically donate to anti-LGBT. Like, they pick the hatred to donate in name of. Like, it's not, they don't do it because they want tax cuts. They do it because they want to hurt people.
Right. Exactly. And so, like, it's fucking weird, but like, I have that conversation way too often. I did avoid that conversation with Logan and one of his best friends because they go to the trampoline park a lot of times when we're recording, or they'll go to like trampoline park play dates, and when they do that, whichever parent will take them to Chick-fil-A. It was my turn to take them. I had never taken them both. And so they go to Chick-fil-A because it's right next to the thing. And we went to the trampoline park, and afterwards I was like, what do you guys... And I knew that they would want Chick-fil-A. So instead of fielding the question, I said, what do you guys want for dinner? We can go to McDonald's, we can go to Burger King.
Right. You guys want pizza or do you want burgers?
And I listed like three things, and Logan goes, oh, McDonald's. And his friend goes, what about Chick-fil-A? And I was like, I think we're going to McDonald's, bud. So that I didn't have to be like, I don't like it.
I don't have to tell you why. You're a kid. Yeah.
Oh, also, I got Logan onto Goodreads so that he could start like kind of keeping track of because he's reading a shit ton.
Oh man, you shouldn't have done that.
Why?
I forgot. There's a meme out there of like,
that's
anti-Goodreads and saying, here's a different site that you could do the same thing with that.
I downloaded that app too, but I got him on Goodreads, and he was rating the Harry Potters that he's read so far, and I was like, you can write reviews in there too, so you can remember like, oh, this is what I thought about it when I read it. Like if you go back a couple of years from now, and he goes, can I write that J.K. Rowling's a bad person? I'm like, don't, just leave that alone. That's
you
fine.
can. Sure, you can. Go ahead and do that.
Well, I don't want. It's a social network, so I really don't want him engaging with people. So I just was like, just write your personal notes on it.
Yeah, it's lovely. But it's like I tell you, there was one time when I was teaching improv at a all women's college, and one of the women walks into the room with Chick-fil-A, and I looked at her and I said, "How are you eating that?" And she's a lesbian, and I'm like, she's like, "What?" And I pull up on my phone articles about Chick-fil-A, and she's like, "Well, now I can't enjoy. Does anyone want this?" She goes, "I didn't even pay for it. They were giving it away at a meeting that I came from. I don't even want to eat it now." Like,
yeah,
it's like so much just even being aware,
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like our rule used to be, we can go to Walmart if we're buying what's on like doorbuster sale, like super sale, but don't buy anything else. Just buy the thing that they're making the minimum money on. So like, got a PlayStation, there on Black Friday, once upon a time, but like didn't buy any games for it there. But the PlayStation and the Nintendo 3DS or whatever, and then went to other stores to buy the games for them because I didn't want to spend the money at Walmart for the things that weren't on super sale.
Yeah.
And I got the last PlayStation. I think it was when I got the PlayStation 4. Yeah. It was the last one that I went there. I was like, I called 3 different Walmarts, and the one furthest from me had the most left. And I was like, there's 1 left in Cary. There's 3 left in Raleigh. I'm going to take the risk and go to Raleigh because there's 3 of them. I get there, and there's all these guys walking around the game section and looking confused, because there's PlayStation's there, but they're not on doorbuster price. They're just regular price. So I walk over, do something very undad-like, and I walk over and ask a clerk for help. I was like, do you have any more of the PlayStation bundles that are on sale? And the person does this. Yeah, we got 1 more here. So apparently there was like a display behind the counter, but now there was only 1 left, so it was on the floor and nobody could see it. And I'm like, nice. I will take that. And there was a stack of Nintendo DSs. I'm like, I would like a pink one, a silver one, and a blue one. And got those. And like, you want to shop around for more games? Like, no, I would like to leave this store. And I like paid for it right there in the back and went straight out of the store, put it in my trunk, looked around to make sure nobody saw that I did it.
Nice. Sorry, I can hear the garage door, I think. And I'm like, what are they doing?
Oh, they're probably doing the breakers for that installation.
Yeah, they better not fuck with the breakers.
Who would do that in the middle of a record?
I don't know, but I would kill them. Yeah, no, I've been. It's tough because Sarah is not as anti-corporate as I am. So like when we've been seeing all the memes this week about this insurer and the CEO of this insurance company, and she's just like, I think she's grossed out by like enjoyment of death, and I'm like, I don't think that it's as clearly an enjoyment of death as you think it is. I think it is just a lack of empathy for this guy because he, showed such lack of empathy in his, I mean, like, it's hard to like see someone making $10 million a year or whatever his salary was and think like,
I think that's low. I think that's really low. I think probably by like 10 times the amount, probably.
I don't
know. I would. I
thought they were saying at one point that $10 million a year was his salary.
And maybe it is. But my
guess
could be
my guess not counting bonuses and shit too, because a lot of times, like their bonuses are 50% of what they're making annually, so they don't have to declare it the same way or whatever.
I just googled. It says bonus and stock 10.2 million. You're right. I would have just thought it was higher. His base salary is $1 million plus bonus. It's 10 million. What kind of ridiculous gaming the system is that?
Yeah, it's the shit that happens. But I think that it's completely
plus bonus and stock options. So his money is just not in money, so he pays less tax. It's just not given to him in cash, so he can pay less on it.
I will say, yesterday when they identified the killer, or they think they did. Although I saw a thing this morning, 10 minutes before we got on, that showed like an eyebrow difference between the guy's mugshot and the like. There's a
because the guy who did it's eyebrows like this and his are like this. That's enough reason to let him go, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. I guess the memes that I've been seeing that I've been enjoying the most are like when it was the
if you saw him, you didn't see him.
Yeah, the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man without the mask on, and they're like, "Here's your mask. We won't say anything.
And we won't say a word, Mr. Spider-Man."
But I saw when they identified who he was, to as of right now, what we know about him, when they gave the public a name, essentially, I was like, "Oh, he's a nice Italian boy. Yet another person that we another great Italian American to replace Christopher Columbus, since every Italian is like, oh, why don't we have a special Italian guy like day?" And I was like, we instead of Christopher Columbus, now we can have Luigi Manicotti or whatever his name is.
Mangione. It's like Mansion. It's like, isn't it funny? Isn't it the name? Isn't it the name of a Nintendo game, Luigi's Mansion?
Oh yeah,
and his name is like Luigi's Mansione, which is Luigi's Mansion. Are we supposed to believe that this wasn't a plot by the Japanese? Clearly, a plot by the Japanese.
So
Mario.
I saw that and I said it to Sarah. I said, "A good Italian boy" or whatever. And then one of the comedians that you and I have talked about, that I don't know that either have talked about his name by name, but Gianmarco something or other, the guy that talks about you're not R. Kelly's not a pedophile, he's a hebephile. You don't want to make the distinction because then you sound like a pedophile. That same guy tweeted, how about we replace Christopher Columbus Day for him? Nice. So it's nice. Italians, we had Frank Sinatra. Now we have
okay, I have newsflash coming in. Not that I want to promote a giant mega corporation, but I just got a message pop up on my screen that Max, formerly HBO Max, channel now has the 1970s animated Lord of the Rings and Return of the King. They have had The Hobbit for quite some time, but they've just added Lord of the Rings and Return of the King.
I will not be watching that.
Oh, but then you will learn the great song, Where There's a Whip, There's a Way. The original Ralph Bakshi ones, yes. Sorry, everyone. Alex, our producer, is asking if that's the one, and yes, that's the one, Ralph Bakshi one, where they sing the classic song while the orcs are being led to war. Where there's a whip, whoosh, there's a way. We don't want to go to war today, whoosh, but the master says we have to. It's so good, so much better than Peter Jackson.
Look behind you for a second.
I know, I got my shit. I love these. I love these, but the 1975 was the best.
It sounds terrible. I liked the movies. I have not.
Sounds terrible. It's brilliant. They did things where they filmed like real riders on horses and then animated on top of them, which is why Alex said he had nightmares from it. It is so well done. It is amazing. If you never, as a filmmaker, you owe it to yourself to watch them. Especially Lord of the Rings. The Return of the King may not have been as good as Lord of the Rings. They kind of combined Two Towers and Return of the King into one movie, so it suffers from just not being able to do all that stuff, so they have to pick and choose. But Lord of the Rings is excellent.
When the Two Towers movie came out, the Peter Jackson one, that was what, 2002?
If you say so.
Let's look it up. That had to be an absolute crazy sell. I'm looking up on IMDb.
I'm looking at the poster.
But I know that that was the name of the book and the book was 50 plus years old at that point or whatever. But the idea that in 2002, it's
not the Twin Towers.
Yeah, still the idea that in 2002, you were releasing a movie called The Two Towers had to be a little bit of a difficult sell.
2002 is the movie. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, remember?
You can't change the title. You can't change the title.
They were editing shit so much that in the year after 9/11, like,
Yeah.
remember there was that Spider-Man
on the
trailer
poster
where
you can see it
he
in his
did the
eyes.
web between. Well, there was a trailer where he did the web between the two towers and caught a helicopter. And they were
not
like,
in the movie.
I don't know that you could even find that now. Like,
Yeah.
I remember being like, oh, damn.
Well, it was like there was like one poster where you could still see the Twin Towers in like reflected in his eye panels, but like it's not in the movie.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's
yeah.
It's just fun. It's just crazy.
But still, just but do go watch the original Lord of the Rings. It is worth watching. Like The Hobbit would be fun to watch with Logan because it's done more kid style. It's very like just like the book is. The Hobbit cartoon is very kid style. It's very kid friendly. He will dig it the most. Lord of the Rings is a little more mature, but because like I said, like Alex, our producer, could cut in. You guys couldn't hear him, but he said he had nightmares from it as a kid because it's done so well. The creepy stuff is so creepy. I recommend it. 2 hooves up.
Sounds good. We have not talked nearly enough about the topic tonight. Alex just chimed in to say, nope, we have not.
Yeah, I mean, I think we expressed our opinions pretty well. There's not that many shades of gray for us.
No, I come back to the idea of, and we talked about this on the episode with, I can't remember what episode. I remember the conversation. I don't remember the specific title of the episode. But when we talked about like,
it was probably AI generated anyway.
Yeah, when we talked the first time we talked about, no, this was before we used TubeBuddy. But when we I come back to the idea of like, how do we effectively move people on these things when they don't see, like they like if you are like, yeah, he signed a form and some people died, but he didn't press the button. Like, even, like that is, how do we reach people who think that way? And I will say this, when it comes to military stuff, I have a tendency to kind of lean that way. So like, I don't look down on military people, like veterans, if they participated in a war that I find immoral. Like because I think that, unfortunately, the way that our society has structured our military, it's a necessity for some people, to get out of a situation they're in, and then unfortunately they end up going somewhere where they may not even do something bad, but they participate in a war that's bad. Vietnam, so many people came home and were treated poorly in Vietnam, and I don't agree with that.
Yeah,
but at the same time, if they sign the orders,
I think it behooves a soldier to disobey an illegal order that is directly in front of them and clearly an illegal order. Go kill those women and children. Mm-hmm. You should disobey. Fighting in a war that is unjust is not an illegal order that you have the foresight and all the knowledge to be able to know is to be. I mean, some people are conscientious observers and they refuse to, and I respect that. But I don't hold it against someone who didn't know this wasn't the right war to fight. But it's just individual actions are different than the entire war. But I agree. But I think that, like back in the old days, like when Aragorn, son of Arathon, had to lead his troops into battle at not even his troops at Helm's Deep, but troops at Helm's Deep, but his troops in the fields of Paranor in front of Gondor, right? He was the general, but he was right there with them. Theoden was right there with the Rohirrim. He was right there, right? And that is a lot more ethical to me than he was back in DC in a situation room watching it on TV.
Right.
And not just because his life's at risk, but because he's seeing it real. Like, it's too easy for war to be a video game that you play from home when all the leaders are playing the game from home.
Yeah.
And that's not, it's like they should be there. They should be seeing what they're doing, what their decisions have wrought. Yeah. Like, I think if Biden was walking through Gaza, seeing death and destruction and children, with missing limbs, he would have been a little stronger on Netanyahu to stop doing it if it wasn't just numbers on a page.
If he remembered when he got home.
Fair. He'd remember, he just wouldn't be able to articulate what it was.
Yeah. Sarah and I watch Love is Blind, which is a terrible show, but she likes it, and I don't care.
And I'm married, so.
But there was a woman in the military, or who was former military, on this past season a couple months ago, and the partner that she started kind of left the pods with and thought she was going to marry was like very anti-military.
I am proud to say I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about, but go ahead, continue.
Good. Anyway, the point being, the on this dating show, the person that she thought she was potentially going to marry was not pro military. He was very anti-American imperialism. He was a douchebag otherwise, like in other ways, but he was like he was
right about that.
But he had that opinion that made sense. But he would. What she at one point said, like, I was in the military. I didn't kill people. I just pushed the buttons. And Sarah and I were like, what?
Which buttons did you push? Like, and launch the drones that killed the people. I didn't do it.
Yeah, but I
got 30 degrees of separation.
I kind of think that's what the implication was that she was making. I'm like, then you can say you didn't knowingly kill innocent people.
I don't kill people. The guns killed people.
Yeah, but indiscriminately killing and being a little more specific about it. I think being like you said, discriminately killing, yeah. But like just like saying I'm at 2:00 on Tuesday, there's going to be a big bomb that goes off in downtown Kabul or whatever. I don't know where they were bombing, but like and if you said like that doesn't make it. That just means you don't know who dies. It doesn't mean that you didn't kill people.
All I did was leave a bomb on the side of the road. Is it my fault someone drove over it?
Yeah. And it was just like it's and I get how
once the rocket goes up, who cares where it comes down? That's not my department.
Says Werner von Braun.
Oh my God! I was like thinking, well, I hope Mike doesn't say anything, not knowing that you knew the answer. Because hoping like some people will be like, how many people fill in the blank at home? But you filled in the blank. It was brilliant. Brilliant. You filled in the blank.
Yeah.
1968 song, and Mike gets it. I'm very impressed.
Yeah. But
now the audience is doubly confused.
For those who that don't understand what the reference is, first of all, it's a Tom Lehrer.
It is.
Song. But it's about Werner von Braun, who was a Nazi
Nazi schmatzi.
He's a Nazi scientist who we took over in Operation Paperclip.
I mean, if not that, then the same kind of thing as Operation Paperclip.
Operation Paperclip, and we made him the head of NASA, or
he's the one who designed the U-2 rocket that was used to bomb London.
And he's
in charge
also
of our rockets.
He's also largely he had a huge hand in us going to space and to the moon. So this is not this isn't like an inconsequential dude on either side of events, and people basically, I think like the bit that I know about him, people want to act like they didn't know about him till the 90s. And I'm like, but Tom Lehrer had that song in like 1968.
1968. The album was the year that was 1968. Yeah, the year that was 1968. Yeah. So yeah, they knew.
Yeah. But
in German and English, I know how to count down, and I'm learning Chinese, says Werner von Braun.
Nice. But I can understand why, if you were in the military, you might feel the need to tell yourself
compartmentalize at the very least.
But I also think that there is like a dishonesty there in that, like, I have friends that were in the military. I have a lot of people. I know a fair amount of people that were in the military that I don't think participated in any particular way that would be
any personal war crimes.
Any personal war crimes. But I think that they would also not be like, well, I pressed a button one time and I'm not sure what happened there.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that there's any of that shit that I mean, partly that's probably because the way that they fought the wars. I only have one friend that I can think of that has combat, that actively participated in combat. But I can't imagine anybody I know being like, well, I liked to play that game in the basement of that that Las Vegas warehouse with the drones that we were flying. You know, like there's so many things that it is like I don't think us detaching the humanity from killing is making it not killing.
Yep.
I just don't think that.
So anyone who has not read the novel Ender's Game, the author is very problematic, but it's a good novel. You should read Ender's Game.
Yeah, I've read it. Actually, we watched. I'm pretty sure it was the Two Doctors episode with Peter Capaldi's last episode.
Mm-hmm.
And it's World War One.
Excuse me. Did you say World War One?
Yeah,
World War One though.
Yeah, that's such a sad part. But like in that part when the Christmas ceasefire happens, and you know they're talking about it, and it's so like that is a great example. When I learned about that in one of my college history classes, that is like the earliest example of like, oh yeah, we as people have a difficult time killing in people. We can shoot indiscriminately. We can do those things. So like after the Christmas armistice or whatever they call it, temporary ceasefire, they refused to shoot at each other because they knew the person on the other side of the trench. And so what the generals did was they shuffled everybody, you know, like, oh, England went a mile east and Germany went a mile west, so that now you don't know the person across from it. Go ahead and keep killing. And we are, you know, 100 years down the road, and we're still like, okay, how do we separate this enough to make you feel completely comfortable ending somebody's life?
Yeah, I was trying to think of it. There was some similar thing that I was thinking of that has a similar kind of take on it. But the thing is, how far can distance yourself so you don't feel like I didn't kill anyone. I just pushed a button. It's not my fault that blows up a bomb.
Yeah. And I think there's a natural distance where it makes sense.
It's the flip side, right? You know, of the famine wealth, thing where I see a child drowning, I want to help. I don't see it, I don't feel an obligation to help. Yeah. If I had to see the person I was killing, I'd feel the moral obligation, the moral, sin of doing it. But if I don't have to see it, it's just easier to do.
Yeah. But the fascination for me, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say there's a very recent story written about it because it's a very complicated moral philosophical stance, and I don't think people in prior generations really were equipped to understand the problem. But there was a recent thing called A Christmas Carol where a guy is taken to see how the things he does harms the people around him in his life, and he changes. Eli may not know how to learn empathy, but he learns empathy when he sees what happens just outside of his vision of what he normally lets himself see or not see.
Yeah.
It's a new thing. It's really new.
It's magical. It's, to me, the thing that I was fixated on this past week is where is the line? So like there is an extent to which I don't think we are necessarily responsible if we're far enough removed. So like think about the butterfly effect. If I step on a butterfly and you know and somehow a kid in Europe 1,000 years from now dies in consequence of me stepping on a butterfly, I don't know how much I could possibly. That would be too much empathy for me to try to think about.
Well, it's also but it's hard to say it's because you saw the butterfly because that was your kind of randomly picking that point in time to stop. Where's the cause and effect? Because something happened a second before that. Like that was just one link in the infinite links that got to killing that damn Gustav who fucking deserved it.
But the point being that I'm trying to make is that like there is a fine line between I'm shooting you in the head, I'm looking at you in the face and shooting you, and I'm stepping on a butterfly and somebody's dying 1,000 years later. And where do we feel comfortable drawing the line? And for me, the line is much further away from than I think a lot of people. They're like, oh no, like I can be just two people removed from that and not have a problem. Like, I can be at the point where it's like, oh, you want me to get an EV? Well,
yeah. Well, I mean, there is a limit to what you can do charitably and activism and stuff. There's a limit, right? It just is. But you could be drinking your third Starbucks latte of the week, or you could donate that $5 to the food bank of North Carolina and and help feed a family.
True.
And it's like, and we don't do it
This is a Starbucks cup, but it's a reusable one. So this is not Starbucks.
Oh, we paid extra for a reusable cup. Nice. Every choice we make is always that choice. Like any dollar we spend that's not on surviving, could have been spent elsewhere. And I'm not, I own a house. I'm getting new appliances because the other ones were not perfect. Yeah. So I'm not raising myself up as a virtue saying I do that all the time. But it certainly it illustrates the point of if someone is a woman with kids who are starving in front of you and you're like, yes, here's $10, go in the grocery store and get something. But you don't think when you have $10, oh, good, I'm going to send this to the food bank right now,
Yeah.
Or you may do once or twice a year, but you don't think it every time you have $10 in your hand.
Yeah.
By the way, the Food Bank Eastern North Carolina is a wonderful place, not just to donate money to, but to go and volunteer. Even if you have kids as young as Logan, the afternoon shifts, kids are welcome to. And you do this like sorting food for people. It's a great way to help community and learn an important empathy and life lesson.
Yeah, Alex and I have both been there.
Yeah. First time I took Jacob, he was in high school, and he had to do something for Honor Society. He had to do volunteering. And we had been before, I think, but he and I went alone. And we went, actually, Triangle Free Thought side of the atheist group that I'm in was going, and we went with them. So we were with people we kind of knew. But then we had a random people at the same big giant bin of potatoes that we were at. Another like father and son, I guess, got kid in high school. I said, oh, there's a kid by your age. I bet they're here for the same reason. Came over with us, not knowing that we knew the other people around us. We're all ethnically mixed and age mixed. So like we didn't look like a group of like tight friends necessarily. We all look real different. And we're working, and Jacob suddenly stops working and looks up and he goes, how many potatoes does it take to kill an Irishman?
0.
We all look at each other and he goes, 0. And then just goes back to work. And everyone's shocked. A couple people laughed. Like one of our friends, and Jacob at the time was so quiet and meek and introverted, like no one had heard his voice before. And then one of them goes, did he just make a great potato famine joke? And I was like, yes. Yes, he did. And the person, like, it was our friend Kim. Kim goes, I almost have a tear in my eye. That was so sweet. Yeah, growing up to be me. That poor dad with his son, like, what's going on? Why are these people laughing at that? They're encouraging this unethical emotion, like free sociopathic kid.
He's not growing. He didn't grow up to be you. He's much more impressive than you.
Fact.
Logan's on the track to be more impressive.
Actual statement. Well, I could speak 5 languages if I wanted to.
Yeah. Should we start wrapping up?
Sure. I prefer to call it a beat poem, though I feel it's offensive when I call it a rap.
Okay. And
that's a reference to the podcast, The Climate Champions, hosted by my brother, Lee Cravat, who sums up every interview with a rap, or what he calls a rap. That is amazingly impressive because he takes the scientific and business interview and he weaves everything into one rap at the end. But his rap, not healthy, not a healthy rap. If he called it a beat poem, it would be much more socially acceptable, I think.
Great.
But that's all I got to say about that.
Sorry, Sarah just asked, are we doing a double today? And I said, yes. All right. So any last thoughts on moral culpability and where that line stands for it?
Just people realize that if you're not supporting this podcast on Patreon, you are stopping our ability to donate more money to charity.
Sure. I will say, I'll add this to the end. It's a little off topic, I suppose, but when it comes to the celebration of this man's death that we're seeing online, I am not a joke police person, so I don't care when you're doing it. But like, I do think that there is an important there's an important difference between like joking and having, and sharing memes about something and supporting the idea of vigilante justice. Now, if good comes from this, I'm okay with that, and because it's already done. But I don't want this to be encouraging more. I also think, though, that we need to look at, as society, this guy that died sounds like he was a bad person as well, and not
you
in
could make
like
the comparison. If somebody
jerk.
killed a mass murderer, how would you feel? Is it okay to murder a mass murderer?
Yeah. Well, the problem is that I think you get a different audience that would agree. So I think that right now you're getting a lot of liberals and progressives.
Actually, you're getting a lot of people across the spectrum. One of the things that's been going on is fans of Ben Shapiro and Matt Walsh are like attacking their episodes in the comments about saying, "Oh, it's a liberal reaction. They're celebrating." Oh, no, we're all celebrating. We all hate healthcare. You're out of touch. You're so rich. You don't know how much. Like the right is feasting on the rich as well in this case.
Perfect. If it helps take those people down, then that is another benefit of a bad thing that happened. But my point being, I think that you're not wrong that there is some overlap there, but I also think there's a fair amount of people who will not.
What's wrong is it's hypocritical on the side that's against the death penalty to be celebrating it.
Right.
That's what makes it weirder. Like I'm against it. Oh, it's for him. In that case, I'm okay. That's where it becomes that you can't pick and choose. You're either against executions or you're not against executions. There's no pick the one you want. You're just saying there's a line I draw somewhere and I draw it a different place than you.
Yeah. I also think there is a difference between I'm anti-death penalty. That doesn't mean I don't think certain people deserve to die. I just don't know that the person deserves to make that decision. So if this...
Where's my Gandalf? Hold on. Many people who now live deserve death, and many who die deserve life. Should you give it to them?
Right.
So, I've got a poster with he in the pose where he says that.
Nice. So I am if this guy, the head of whatever, United Healthcare, had died of
dysentery,
a heart attack, or I wouldn't feel any. I would feel
no sympathy for him, but it doesn't mean I celebrate the murderer taking things into his own hands.
Exactly, because I just think that there is a difference. Just because something is deserved doesn't mean somebody else gets to do it. Just like
Gandalf said.
Yeah.
So I just have a spin-off thing that since we don't need to run necessarily because we're in charge of our lives and our time, we became stand-up comics, so we didn't have a boss. Just sorry, everybody. Continuing a conversation from 6 hours ago. Jury nullification. I've seen that online a lot also, saying, what happens if this guy goes to trial and he's clearly guilty? The evidence is incontrovertible. Everyone knows he did it. But the jury says, but screw that guy for United Healthcare. We were sharing memes saying we're happy he's dead. So they return a verdict of not guilty, knowing he's guilty, to nullify the case because they don't care that he's guilty. How would you feel about that?
I don't know, because I can think of other examples where somebody would be legally guilty of something, and I don't think I could, and I would know that, and I don't think I could vote to convict them on. For example, if a parent of a victim of sexual assault and then murder were to murder the person who did that, I don't know that I could convict them.
I don't see a reason to, frankly. I'm like, you're not a threat to society if the only people you murder are those who murder your children.
Yeah, and realistically,
it's not like you're going to do it again.
Depending on the time of the trial, the trial takes, you might have been sitting in jail for 2 years.
Yeah, you already served
during the
more
process,
of a punishment than you deserve.
Time served.
So that's this. Now we're going to this case, though. Don't give me your extreme. Don't give me your goddamn cop out extreme.
No, but I was saying
Mario is playing. He's playing Luigi's Mansion. Mario's sitting next to him. Oh, my brother, don't put him in jail. And the jury decides, you know what? We are huge Nintendo fans, and sure he did it, but we're going to find him not guilty by reason of a cute little green plumber's outfit.
Yeah. I also, okay, I know that you want me to answer the question. I'm not going to.
Like a politician.
I think that it depends on a bunch of different things. What's the charges? What are, like, specifically what
and possessing a gun and a fake ID. Ooh,
yeah.
he has scary charges. Gun and ID are on there.
So, like,
find him guilty for the ID and the gun, but let him out for the murder.
I'm just saying. So the reason I brought up the parent killing somebody and not finding them guilty is there are circumstances in which I would say I'm not going to convict, and then there are circumstances in which I would have a harder time. It kind of depends on a bunch of factors. In this case, I don't know where that lands yet, because there's speculation that there was a manifesto that was going to come out on YouTube in a couple days, and who knows what the next plan is. Like, if this is some mastermind plan that has some bigger thing, maybe.
What if Musk is the next target?
Yeah, there's a lot of there's not enough information here for me to say
if his manifesto comes out and it was this is murder one, stay tuned for the rest, and he plans on, he has a hit list, and letting him go means he'll keep killing, and that could also mean innocent bystanders get hurt in the path. That's different than this was if his manifesto says, I'm sure they'll catch me and kill me for this, but it's worth my life to get revenge for what he did to everyone, and it's a very personal, he was the target. That might be different.
Yeah, I also would have more I have respect's maybe not the right word, but if you go into a circumstance like he went into, with the intention, knowing that you're likely to die, then it's like, okay, well, like, I'm okay with that. Like, if you, like, I'm not okay with people killing you, but, like, I'm okay with, like, if you knew there was going to be a shootout at the end, then I feel like that actually makes you a little more just. No, I don't want to say just, but, like, closer to just than if you were like, I think I can get away with this.
You cared enough to be willing to die for your cause.
Right, exactly. I'm not wording what I'm thinking correctly, but you're seeming to get it. I just think there's more
you're willing to commit to it. You're less likely to be going on a killing spree, perhaps, if you're willing to.
But also, it shows more conviction behind your.
But his spree might be, I don't care that I'm going to die. See how many of these CEOs I can get before I go, and he's still willing to die, but he's willing to die after killing 20, not just one. So so I think, barring a manifesto that says that he was going to kill more, and it wasn't like it's this guy, or whatever. Only, I think I would, as a juror, find him guilty on, like, the gun charge and the false ID charge. Like, I wouldn't find him guilty for the murder. I'd let it be for minor things, so he pays a small penalty, which might be time served by that point, whatever. But it's misdemeanors. It's not the felony offense.
Yeah,
I think that's where I would fall out personally.
For Alex, when you're cutting clips, I want you to make sure that it doesn't look like I'm anti this guy either. I don't want to be the bad guy who's because this gets dangerous now. Look at this Bruce Wayne supporting motherfucker.
We can have that argument in another episode. I don't think Bruce Wayne gets a bad rap on the internet.
No,
because he does a lot of the things with his money that people he could do this. He does. He has institutes and charitable foundations. He has all that shit. He has serious mental health issues, and people are like, oh, he's hurting people with mental health issues, and people have more sympathy for the people with mental health issues who are murdering and serial killing than they do for Batman, who clearly has them too, and is stopping crimes. But that's another story. We've hit time for today.
Yep.
He is not in charge of United Healthcare. Batcare Wayne Insurance is a very low-priced option on the exchange.
Nice. All right. Why don't you start us off?
But as I said before, though, ethically sound to support us. And the one way that you can do that without even spending any money, if you're watching us on the YouTubes, I'm sorry, there was a typo, on the YouTubes, then go ahead and like this video, make comments in this video. Then go ahead and subscribe so you know when there's getting more videos. Ding, da, ding, dong, do. Ring the bell so you know specifically when a new video has hit. Get an alert on your phone and go, oh my God, they're talking about the big stuff. I better get out of this meeting now.
Yeah, and if you are listening to this episode on a podcast player, give us a 5-star or a thumbs up or whatever your podcast player of choice allows. Give us a review. Right now, because Spotify Wrapped told us what our best episode of the year was so far, or the most popular episode of the year was, and you could check that out. We posted that on. It was the Found Family episode. But so we have good episodes in the back archive that you could check out if you wanted to, and give that a like. And if you want to give us money, we have Patreon. You go to patreon.com/talking about the big stuff, and you can get these episodes early. You can get less censorship on the episodes and hear when Matthew makes wildly inappropriate jokes. And you also can get the video version of these episodes less censored as well. And those are $1, $3, or $10 a month, depending on what you want to get. But you're getting 4 episodes regardless for that $1, or 4 for the 3, or 4 for the 10. Just depends on what level. All right, and then that's probably a good spot to stop. Matthew, you got anything else?
I just want to say thank you for joining us this week when we're talking about the big stuff. It was objectively the moral thing to do.
Remember, the conversation doesn't end here. It's just the beginning. If you have thoughts or questions or topics you'd like us to tackle in a future episode, drop us a line on our social media channels. Engage with this video when you are now watching it as a VOD on YouTube. Send us an email. We love hearing from our listeners, bringing us topics, because if you leave it up to the 3 of us, we're going to eventually be talking about underwater basket weaving. So we would appreciate you guys reaching out a little bit. Don't forget to subscribe to Talking About the Big Stuff on your favorite platform. Give us a 5-star rating. Engage with it. Criticize us. We need to grow and be better, and you're going to help us be there. You're going to help us get to that point. It really helps us more to reach out and also to keep the conversation going. Thank you for tuning in. We'll be back next week with more big ideas and more thought-provoking discussions. Until then, stay curious, stay informed, and keep talking about the big stuff.
The preceding podcast has been a Chocolate Diamond Media LLC production. Copyright 2023, all rights reserved.